Described as Europe's youngest state, one of the poorest too, with ambitions to join NATO and the EU as well. Various obstacles stand in the way for 2 million Kosovans. One is that statehood is not universally recognised, including by 5 EU nations who've objected for their own domestic political reasons for some time. And Kosovo's path to NATO is complicated as well. A decades-old unresolved dispute with Serbia, with which Kosovo declared independence from in 2008, after years of turmoil and conflict too, following the breakup of Yugoslavia, which also Serbia wants to join the EU. Now today, celebrations and commemorations are underway in the capital, Pristina, marking the 27th anniversary to the day, June the 12th, 1999, when NATO helped deliver victory to ethnic Albanian separatists in Kosovo, inflicted defeat on Serbia of its liberation. This is the acting Prime Minister, Albin Kurti, who's been paying tribute in the past few hours.
Every June 12th, we remember all the generations who tried, suffered, and sacrificed during the occupation of Kosovo by Serbia for nearly 87 years, which ended with the glorious liberation war and NATO's intervention in Kosovo.
Right now, the path to EU and NATO membership faces another setback. There is no functioning government. There hasn't been for 60 months, despite 3 elections, the last one this week producing a similar result to the last 2. The party of the incumbent Prime Minister, Albin Kurti, got 43% of the vote. It is a clear victory, but it's not enough to govern without a coalition, and yet he hasn't been able to get one. We're going to look at why in a moment, but there's no sitting president either. Vjosa Osmani served as president from 2021 to April this year, but couldn't get a second mandate, reportedly over a fallout with the Prime Minister. Vjosa joins us on France 24 this evening. Welcome to the programme, Vjosa. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Let's talk about your own situation in a moment. But first, just reflecting on the latest roll of the dice, the weekend's elections. I've heard voters say enough is enough. Why can't Albin Kurti form a coalition? What is at the heart of the problem as you see it?
Before I jump to that, let me just mention that, as you pointed out, today is the 12th of June, one of the most important dates in Kosovo's history, where not separatists, as you mentioned, but liberators, together with the support of the NATO forces, liberated Kosovo from a genocidal regime. Although it's been 27 years, the people of Kosovo continue to remain grateful for all of the sacrifice of those who gave their lives for this day, as well as for the contribution of the NATO forces to our freedom. Now, getting back to the issue of elections, obviously it's been repeated election after repeated election, which is unfortunate because it stalls Kosovo's progress, whether internally or externally. Nevertheless, once again, Kosovo has shown that it's a strong democracy, one where its people participate in making their voice heard, although this time I think their voice has shown everyone that they're frustrated over the repeated deadlocks. And the message that the people of Kosovo have given to all political parties is that compromise is necessary. Parties need to work with one another, and especially parties need to work with one another in order to decide on issues of national interest, whether that is economic development, political stability, or Euro-Atlantic integration. And the numbers from the counting that has taken place so far clearly show that there can be no institutions without cooperation. And I think cooperation and compromise at this point in time is the biggest and most important virtue that one can show. And I do hope that once the counting is concluded, that we will be able to have these institutions as soon as possible so that we can immediately move on with important steps and aspects when it comes to development internally as well as integration externally.
Just set out for us, Vjosa, what compromise you're talking about. What compromise does Albin Kurti need to make?
I believe all political parties need to make compromise in order for the government, the parliament, and the president to be elected. And that means taking into account, first and foremost, the voice of the people of Kosovo, who have shown that they want political parties to work together rather than create institutions alone. Secondly, of course, there needs to be discussions over the principles based on which we want the next government, the next parliament, and the next president to work on. And these principles need to take into account, as I said, the priority of Kosovo's development internally, but also Euro-Atlantic integration. We cannot halt from this path. It's been more than 18 months of deadlock after deadlock, and this has harmed Kosovo a lot because on one hand, we were not able to have the disbursement of the growth plan funds. On the other side, we were not able to move ahead with our European integration or integration within NATO, which is even more urgent than the European integration, given the security challenges that we face from Serbia. So the people of Kosovo were very clear that they want politicians to work together. And that means that the first part is going to have with the rest in order to create these institutions. Now, the one party that we not see cooperation with possible at this point is Lista Srpska because of their participation in acts of aggression against Kosovo, especially in 2023 and onwards, and also in acts of terrorism against Kosovo. But every other party should get together, whether they belong to the majority or to minority communities, should get together in order to form these institutions as soon as possible.
Well, to those points,
putting it bluntly, everyone have to work with everyone apart from, as I
So you mentioned 2 points. So first of all, the EU, the funding. We're talking about billions of euros being on the table here, aren't we? This is the EU warning that you cannot get funds. You mentioned it, the Western Balkan Growth Plan, if you haven't got a functioning government to pass laws, because you need somebody to accept to receive the funds, to a government to enact the reforms that are needed to accept the funds. The centre-right opposition, am I right to say that the LDK, they've formed a loose alliance with you? They see you as wanting you to have another term as president. Which takes us to your position, why you didn't get elected for a second term. It's widely reported you've had a fallout after being close politically at one point with incumbent Prime Minister Albin Kurti. What's at the heart of that?
There have been a number of differences that we've had in the past, and now that is honestly the past. I think the people of Kosovo have heard a lot when it comes to that. We've mainly had differences on how we work with our allies internationally, but also on a few other issues. But that did not happen. Now we're in front of a completely different reality, one that was created by the people of Kosovo through elections. And yes, of course, I was put out as the candidate of LDK for president for a next mandate. However, it's not my name that is going to stand on the way of creating the institutions. I think, and I know at least for our list, the LDK list, that all of our engagement is going to focus on how to have these institutions that are stable on one side, that offer Kosovo political stability, which is so necessary at this point in time after more than 2 years of more than a year of deadlock. And secondly, to give Kosovo institutions that are focused on Euro-Atlantic integration, and thirdly, institutions that are focused on economic development. We haven't seen these three paths moving forward in the past 18 months or so. And that's right now our focus, not on the names, but on a compromise that will give Kosovo, that will give the country, that will give our people these three aspects that are needed like oxygen right now for Kosovo's politics,
and
but
that
also
compromise,
for our successes internationally.
As you say, principally must come from Albin Kurti. If you look at the figures, I mentioned 43% of the vote went to his Vetëvendosje party, the largest party. The closest PDK, 21% of the vote, significantly down then for Vetëvendosje on the most recent election before that, which was around 51%, I think, and then 43% in the 6 months before that. So you've got voter frustration in the process. You've got no sitting president at the moment. You talked about your differences being a thing of the past, but trying to briefly get to the heart of it. To explain this, he refused to nominate you as president. In the way it works in Kosovo, it's elected as a National Assembly. It has to be done with 2/3 of the vote. One of the issues, can I just fact check with you? You were reportedly displeased with the attempt of the government to bid for membership of the Council of Europe, that you didn't agree on how it was handled. Is that right?
It was one of the issues. Obviously, the way it was handled was that, at the very last day, they offered to form the Association of Serb Municipalities in a way that we had agreed not to do it beforehand. But that was, as I said, only one of the issues. The point is that, generally speaking, the way how we handled coordination with allies and many other issues were differences, but at the same time, plenty of times we also managed to operationalize these differences in the interest of Kosovo. As I said, because that has failed as a process, it belongs to the past right now. All of the efforts of the institutions of Kosovo, including mine,
Yes.
should be, at least of others as well, should be focused on how to create the new institutions. As I said, there's no persistence from my side when it comes to my name, but there will be absolute persistence that we have a president that respects the constitution, that defends democracy, that defends the alliances which are crucial for Kosovo's security and Euro-Atlantic integration,
Yes.
and a president that protects the integrity of the country.
Yes.
That is the presidency that I've had, and we need to make sure that we only increase the standard of that institution, which was first founded by President Rugova, the founding father of our country. So we will persist and we will insist on principles. We will not connect to names, but we will connect to principles, and we will insist on that. But as you rightly pointed out, there needs to be a compromise because no one can create the institutions alone.
And to that point, if you're listening outside of Kosovo, another part of the world, trying to understand and make sense of this, just to bring into some context here. So the idea of joining the Council of Europe, I think I'm right in saying it will be seen as another major step toward being treated as a normal European state. And since you mentioned also the issue of the association of Serb majority municipalities, a number of European countries have indicated that Kosovo needs to make progress before the final membership vote here. So this is where we're talking about ethnic Serbs are living. They make up, 3 to 5% of the population in northern Kosovo. Albin Kurti's government has said it would be against some of these changes. And you've talked about some compromise being made. But you're not talking about territorial autonomy, as you've made clear.
No, quite the opposite. I had more rejections to that draft statute than the representatives of the government. And I was very clear in outlining these rejections and these concerns because that kind of draft statute of the Association of Serb Municipality that had been presented by the European High Representative, Mr. Lajčák, at that time, has at least 3 big problems that can turn Kosovo into another Republika Srpska, and that is something that we cannot accept. And that is why that draft has always been unacceptable to me. We need to find a way forward where Kosovo will not have to make those kind of compromises. They were unacceptable to me then, and they are unacceptable to me now, and they are also unacceptable to the Democratic League of Kosovo, the party whose list I led in these elections. Now we need to focus on a dialogue that is fully in line with the principle of mutual recognition, a principle that was so far pushed forward by the Trump administration. Because if the European Union only continues to not treat both parties on an equal treatment principle, we will only have another decade of lost time and also destability, which Serbia is using then to provoke tensions into the entire Western Balkans region, not just Kosovo. So right now, I think it's about time that the European Union focuses on mutual recognition rather than just have an open-ended dialogue on so many issues and a salami tactic where Kosovo continuously gives and gives and gives, but never gets anything in return.
So we're talking about...
It's about time that mutual recognition is at the very center of the process. But that draft of the statute was never acceptable.
So right now, relatively, there's little progress, if any, on normalisation talks with Serbia. There's also, you mentioned a moment ago, the reports, you mentioned President Trump. There are reports, if you're watching around the world, your face may be familiar, Vjosa, because you were standing amongst those leaders, presidents, prime ministers on President Trump's board of peace. And there's some reports about your other disagreement was the fact that you didn't consult with the prime minister. There was no coordination. Is that the case? And also, why is the board of peace, if it is the case, why is it so important to Kosovo?
First and foremost, that is not the case. And secondly, because as we could see, the Board of Peace was unanimously adopted by the Kosovo Parliament. After I signed it, I took it to Parliament for ratification. And it was one of the very few decisions in the history of our Parliament, actually, that got a unanimous vote without any vote against and without any vote of abstention. So that is not the issue. The issue has been obviously the fact that I was very, very clear that participating in the Board of Peace is in Kosovo's interest. And I do understand why some European countries have had their own concerns, but Kosovo did not have those concerns, because for us, making sure that we enhance our international presence, that we are members of international organizations, that we sit together with sovereign nations around the world, that we are present, that our voice is heard, that 27 years after the war, instead of just being an importer of stability, we can also export stability, we can contribute to stability and peace around the world, has been a substantial achievement for Kosovo. So I'm absolutely very, very proud. And the people of Kosovo have been very proud that I was standing there with the United States, with President Trump and other countries that have joined the Board of Peace. Until now, we have also joined the ISF, the International Stabilization Force. We're one of the very first forces that is contributing, because given our experience, I don't think there is any other country that has what Kosovo has and what it takes to actually support a nation that has gone through horrendous suffering, that has gone through so much. And now it's about time to build peace, to build stability, and work with international partners for the sake of future generations. Kosovo is a testament to what countries can achieve when they stand together for principles of human rights and democracy. And we've learned so much throughout these 27 years, and we must share that with the world. Now we want to contribute to peace elsewhere.
Let me ask you,
there's absolutely no question that was the right decision for Kosovo, while I do understand that other European countries might have different priorities. But for us, it was the right decision.
We have less than a minute, probably 30 seconds, but I would like to get your thought before the headlines are approaching as well. Will we see you again in politics? There's talk that you would consider running for Prime Minister if we're going to see elections spin out soon.
You will certainly see me in politics for sure. Whether we're going to have elections or not, that's a different question. I certainly do hope that we will not have elections for another 4 years. I will work in that direction to make sure that we do not have elections in the next 4 years, because what Kosovo needs right now is political stability, European and Euro-Atlantic integration, as well as economic development. So that is my entire focus. And whatever I can do to help my country, I will do it. It does not matter from which position I am. But I will be present, I will be around, and I will be helping my country at the best of my ability. So that will be my contribution. The position doesn't matter. I had the honor of a lifetime to serve the people of Kosovo, to serve my nation, to serve the Republic of Kosovo as their president, as head of state. And I feel absolutely fulfilled with the contribution that I've given, especially when it comes to foreign policy. And now, whatever the people of Kosovo, whatever they want me, I will find a way to help my country.
Vjosa, good to talk to you. Thank you for joining us on France 24 today.
Thank you.
Asmani, thank you.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
No
Appreciate
problem.
it.
Kosovo, 2021 to April this year. Let's